Welcome to a Milan online tutorial. Now before us is this logarithmic equation, and it shows that if log x base 3 then plus log 3 base x equals 10 all over 3, we're told to solve for the value of x. Now first of all, take note of this, that here we're having a base of 3, while here we're having a base of x. So the first thing first is to see a way to have the same base. Okay, so how do we go about it? First of all, we apply the reciprocal law, and the reciprocal law says that when you have log a base b, this will give us 1 all over log b base a. So this is the reciprocal law. So apply this to this so that we have the same base. So our equation on the left hand side now becomes log x base 3 then plus 1 all over log. Now our 3 here, which is the argument, becomes the base according to this rule, and our base here becomes the argument according to this rule. So equals 10 all over what? 3. So at this point now, let's log x base 3 equals what? A. Now this is to help us simplify our working process. Okay, so which means wherever we see log x base 3, we replace it for a. So here we have a, then plus 1 all over a, then equals 10 all over what? 3. Okay, now for us to make this equation more linear, okay, so what we need to do here, we have a here, we have 3 here now, and this is something as saying 1. Let's multiply the left hand side and the right hand side of the equation by 3a. Okay, so this becomes 3a times a, okay, over 1, which is this, then plus 3a times 1 all over a, then equals 3a times 10 all over 3. So at this point, we can undo this, 3, undo this. So we are left with 3a times a will give us 3a squared, then plus, we are left with 3 here, then equals, here we are left with what? 10a. Okay, so we can actually rearrange this equation when after we subtracted 10a from both sides. So we end up having, by subtracting, we have 3a squared now plus 3 now minus 10a all equals what? 0. Okay, so let us rearrange. We have 3a squared, then minus 10a, then plus 3 all equals what? 0. Now you can see we've arrived to what? The quadratic equation. So what next do we do? The next thing is to factorize. Okay, now as factorizing, the first thing first is, since a squared here is having a coefficient of 3, we multiply that coefficient and the constant 3. So here we end up having what? 9a squared. So the next thing is to sort out two numbers in which what we multiply will give us 9a squared, and when we add these two same numbers, it will give us what? Negative 10a. And those two numbers are negative 9a and negative a. So when we multiply these two factors, now it gives us 9a squared, and when we add them, then we get what? Negative 10a. So what we need to do now is to replace negative 10a with the sum of these two terms or factor. So here we have 3a squared minus 9a minus a plus 3 equals what? 0. Now the next thing we need to look at now is to factor out the necessary factors, okay, that will help us to factorize the equation. So what we need to look at now here, you have 3a and 3a squared and 9a. What is the common factor between them? You will see with 3a. Now factor out 3a from these two. We have 3a, then here we have 3a squared divided by this. We are left with a, then minus 9a divided by 3a, then we have what? 3. Okay, so here we have minus. Now the factor that's common between a and 3, that is 1. So here you have a, then here we now have what? Minus what? 3, all equals what? 0. And that's because this negative sign definitely affects this positive sign for us to have a negative sign. So we can now see here that 3a minus 1 and a minus 3 all equals what? 0. So these are the two factors, okay, that will help us arrive at this quadratic equation. So at this point now, since the two terms equal to 0, so we can equate the two terms individually to 0. So here we have what? A minus 3 all equals what? 0. Take note, we are looking for the value of a. Alright, from here we have that 3a minus 1 equals 0. Now if you add 1 to both sides and divide by 3, our a here now becomes 1 over 3. And for the second one, we have a minus 3 equals what? 0. When we add when we add 3 to both sides of this equation, our a now becomes what? 3. Now take note that we are actually looking for the value of x and not a. So now let us recall that we said let log x base 3 equals what? A. So for every value of a, we have to replace it here. So the first one, here we have log x base 3, then equals, for the first one is 1 all over what? 3. Now let's take note that at this point now, let us convert it to exponent. And the rule, there's a rule that says if you have log, let's say x base a, then equals b, according to this. Now for us to find the value, to find x in terms of the exponent, you have what? That x equals to what? A raised to the power of what? B. Now applying that rule here, so it implies that our x now be equals to, now our base here becomes the base here also, and here 1 over 3 becomes what? The exponent. Okay, so here the first value of x becomes x equals to what? The cube root of 3. Now the second one, for a equals 3, you have that log x base 3 then equals what? 3. Now still applying this rule here, we can now say that x here equals what? 3 raised to the power of what? 3. So at the end of the day, x equals what? 27, because 3 raised to the power of 3 is 7. So the values of x that satisfies the equation is what? The cube root of 3 and 27. Thank you and God bless you.